So down the street from my house, there's this big flat area that we call the Overlook. And it's clear that at some point the developer had thought that they would build a row of townhouses there because you can see all the connections to the sewer lines and everything that kind of pops up to the ground. It would have been a beautiful place to build houses. It overlooks downtown on the river, and it just would have been this really top-notch place to live. Except that it's right on the edge of a hill. And if they were to have built the houses right on the edge of the hill, they would have ended up in the river. It is not a place of firm foundation. In fact, right now, it's just a muddy mess. Have you ever felt like your life was built on the edge of a hill and there wasn't a lot holding it back? And you long for a place to put your feet. You long for that solid ground. You long for that firm foundation, but sometimes it feels like it just cannot be found. If you haven't experienced it yet, you will. Because there comes a day in our lives where the storms rage, where the difficulties pile up, where things seem to be going not the way we'd hope, and we are clinging for anything that we can find. In this sermon series we started a few weeks ago, we've started to talk about the foundations of the program called Celebrate Recovery. And I want to pause for 1 second as we talk about this to remind you that this program is not about us and them. This is not a program that we're putting in place for all the people in our communities that are broken and hurting. This program is a program for us too. For any hurt, habit, or hang-up that you've experienced, for any storm of life that has come up against you, this is not just something for the addicts and for the broken and for the hurting. This is for us because we can all experience freedom and new life. This program is not for the other. It is for us. This isn't an us and them. This is all of us together striving and finding a way to move forward as we follow Jesus. The first year that I became a parent was the scariest year of my life. And if you're a parent, you probably know the same feeling. But there is this just overwhelming learning curve that I was struggling to handle. As I relearned my role, as I relearned what I was supposed to do, as I relearned the relationship that I had with Beth, as I suddenly had these small people that I had to take care of and watch out for, and friends, it was terrifying. But I stand before you today to let you know one thing. It is the grace of God that brought me through. I read this week about Falling Water, that beautiful home that Frank Lloyd Wright designed and built. It's built over a stream. You've seen it. There's a stream that kind of runs through the house. And a couple years ago, in 2001, they realized that it's hard to find a good foundation in a stream. There wasn't a very solid place to build, and so they had to take the entire house apart. They labeled the paving stones that were in the living room one by one and set them aside because the entire foundation of the house was shifting, and if they didn't do something, it would have just fallen into the creek. And while that house was beautiful, it didn't have what it needed to stand against the water and the pressure that came. Friends, our lives might look really good on the outside. It may look like we've got everything together and we're doing fine, but inside of us is something brewing where we know that we need to find that firm foundation, that solid rock on which to stand, where we realize we cannot do this on our own. We need to realize that the outflow of our life reflects the commitment and covenants that we've made. This is the first Sunday in Lent. It's a season where we are invited to reflection, where we're invited to look inside of ourselves, to see the places of our life that need to change. And so I ask you today, what is the fruit of your life? In the interactions and conversations that you have with those you love, what is the fruit of your life? Is it love, joy, peace, patience? Or is it anger and hurriedness and impatience? What's the fruit of your life that's coming to bear? Now, here's the thing about fruit. We can't force it. The fruit of our life is a direct connection and correlation between the depth of relationship that we have with God. And so when we learn to abide with Him, the Father will work in us to bring forth good fruit. The fruit is the byproduct of that relationship. And so if you want the fruit of your life to look different, learn what it means to become deeply connected and committed to Christ, and watch the work that He will do in you. It will surprise you. It will be beautiful.